Hey girls, so this is a video I've kind of wanted to do for a while, and I really wanted to do it halfway through my pregnancy and towards the very end of my pregnancy and then after baby comes. And that is all my thoughts of becoming a mother, my thoughts on pregnancy, and just how it's been going from dealing with infertility for a long time to actually having a baby on the way. So I guess my first feelings whenever we first realized that we were pregnant, there was a lot of apprehension. I was really nervous, especially with the history I had where I did get pregnant and I never made it that far with pregnancy. It was really scary at first, especially since my betas weren't rising like they were supposed to. They weren't doubling. And we were completely sure that our pregnancy was going to end in miscarriage and that we were going to have thrown $6,000 down the drain and lost yet another baby. So we were really scared about that. We had never found out why we had miscarriages previously, and by using a reproductive endocrinologist, he tested my progesterone in between the IUIs and the day my period was due, and it was low, so he put me on progesterone supplements, which, looking back, I do feel confident that that is the reason why I was able to stay in the pregnancy along with the grace of God. So it was very nerve-wracking the first couple months because we were so uncertain about everything. We were uncertain because of the betas and how they were rising, that we weren't going to have a decent pregnancy, that it was going to end very soon. And then after the third beta, we were just 100% sure because it had not doubled once. It was very horrifying. And the fourth beta finally almost tripled, which was a complete change from the first three, and that was surprising. We weren't sure why that happened or what was going on, but we were happy about it, and that's when the doctor said, we're not going to do another beta, we're just going to get you in for an ultrasound. So I had my first ultrasound at what ended up being 5 weeks, 5 days gestation, based on when my second IUI was, because I had back-to-back IUIs. I should have been 6 weeks, but baby was measuring 5 weeks, 5 days. We could see a flicker on the screen for a heart, but we later learned that the ultrasound tech put in her report that she did not see a heartbeat and that one could not be heard. And that was disheartening because we were questioning whether or not she thought that it was something else, or why did she tell us that that was the heart. And if you look back to my video from the 5 week, 5 day ultrasound, you'll see that there was clearly a heartbeat. It was low, but it was very early in pregnancy, so that's common. So even after that, we were very scared, especially since during that ultrasound, I started crying because we could see the sac, but we couldn't see anything in it. And based on what my betas had done, the first thought was a blighted ovum on my part, and it was very emotional. It was really hard to deal with. And then when she finally said that she saw a yolk sac and everything, I breathed a heavy sigh of relief. So fast forward a week and 2 days, they wanted to do a repeat ultrasound because they just said that doing an ultrasound at 5 weeks, 5 days, and asking them to see something was asking a lot. So they repeated it at 7 weeks. And at 7 weeks, there was my beautiful baby. With a heartbeat. And it was one of the happiest times in my life because I looked at it and I thought, okay, this is really happening. My baby has a heartbeat. And I've seen my baby. And It was very surreal. I couldn't believe that it was actually happening. And I mean, I was having so many symptoms of pregnancy, and it had gotten really hard to deal with. I was really uncomfortable. I was nauseous all the time. I hadn't really had vomiting, but I was sore, and I had cramping constantly, period type cramps, and I thought the worst every time I had those. Even though everyone said they were normal, I still freaked out throughout all of the period type cramps. And I had people tell me that I was complaining about my pregnancy, that I was ungrateful, but really it wasn't that. I was grateful the entire time. I'm still grateful. It's just you're going through something that you have literally never gone through before. I mean, to experience so many symptoms and be so unsure, you need people to tell you, don't worry, that's okay. You need to share your symptoms and tell people what's going on. It's kind of like a reassurance to hear that it's okay. And I felt bad because I had people messaging me saying, well, I'm not following your journey anymore. You're obviously ungrateful about your pregnancy because all you do is talk about your symptoms instead of talking about how happy you are. And, you know, you should be ashamed of yourself being someone who went through so much infertility. Now you're just sitting there complaining. And I felt really bad because I remember being in that position thinking the same thing about pregnant women. But you really can't know what a pregnant woman is going through until you yourself go through it. They're not complaining about being pregnant. They're complaining about the symptoms, which are terrible. But you ask any pregnant woman that wants a child, and she will tell you that it was all worth it. So yeah, in the beginning, there were a lot of symptoms that were hard to deal with, but I was happy to deal with them because I knew what it meant. Around 12 weeks, my symptoms started letting off. By about 14 weeks, they were mostly gone, save for a backache. I would still occasionally have stretching pain or the period type cramping, but it wasn't as often. And everything just seemed to be falling into place. I had another ultrasound at 9 weeks, 5 days, and that was just one with my OB, just so that she could see for herself what the baby looked like. And that in itself was scary and nerve-wracking because she went to do the ultrasound and could not even find my uterus. And at first I didn't know much about ultrasounds, and I just said, "Are you not finding the baby?" She said, "Well, I'm not finding your uterus at all." I said, "Well, it didn't disappear." So she was doing a transvaginal because I was only 9 weeks and 5 days. And she switched over to an abdominal just to see if she could locate where my uterus had gone. Come to find out, the second I became pregnant, my uterus slowly started tilting up. So now it is fully tilted forward right against my bladder. And that doesn't happen usually until later on in the pregnancy, that it's sitting there on top of your bladder. But mine happened right away for some reason. And it just happens to some women. There's no explanation for it. It doesn't cause any complications. It's just something that happens. But she found where it was right next to my bladder. So she switched back over to transvaginal. And it hurt because she had to jab it upwards right into my bladder trying to find my uterus. And the second she found my uterus, there's this beautiful baby that looks like a baby flapping its arm and leg butts like it's dancing and just moving all over the place. And happiest moment of my life doesn't even begin to describe it. Mark and I just looked at each other and we were both about ready to cry because it was just so beautiful to see after everything we had gone through. To see our baby moving and healthy was amazing, and we could see where the eyes were and where the mouth was forming, and we could see the little arm and leg buds, and it was amazing. I haven't had an ultrasound since that ultrasound, and half of me is thankful for that because my clinic only gives one if you're having complications, and I haven't had any that deem necessary for an ultrasound, so that's been great. Also, if they can't find your baby's heartbeat on a Doppler, they take you straight to ultrasound to make sure that baby is still there and healthy, and they found baby on a Doppler every time, so that's good. Now here we are in the middle of the second trimester, a place I never thought I would be. I'm feeling excited. I feel nervous about birth because I am halfway there. I'm 20 weeks and 3 days, and as I'm talking to you, the baby is kicking my belly button. And it's so wonderful. It is. But yeah, that has been one of the biggest things. Is I was always envious whenever I would like see a woman or hear a woman talking about how they could feel their baby move inside of them, because I wanted it so bad, and I was so sure it was never going to be me. It's like, here I am talking to you girls, trying not to cry because I can feel my baby move. And it's just reassuring because now I know my baby's healthy and is moving great, and it's a daily reassurance that my baby's still there. We find out baby's gender in 9 days. That's surreal to me. You know, 9 days and we will know if we've been carrying a boy or a girl this entire time. Baby will no longer be called baby, it'll be called by its name. And we do have our names picked out, but we're not sharing them yet. But it was around 16 weeks that I knew for sure that I was feeling the baby. I felt what I thought was movement a lot earlier on, but I couldn't say definitively. There was a time where we had the Doppler out and the baby kicked the Doppler and I felt something. So I kind of thought, okay, this is most likely baby, but 16 weeks is where it was like, okay, this is definitely baby. This isn't butterfly movements, this isn't popcorn popping, this is full-on gremlin type movement inside of my belly. It was for sure baby movement. And I have my baby book, and where it asks when did you first feel baby move, I put a date where I thought that I had felt the first movement, and then the date where I for sure felt movement and was 100% certain that that was it. That way, looking back on it, I can still have both dates, because I really can't be sure which one is the first time. But now it's just so surreal. Mitchell was sitting on the couch on Saturday. He and Mark had just gotten back from Boy Scout camp, and I was laying down and I said, Mitchell, look at my belly button. And it was just going boop, boop, boop. And Mitchell gets so excited, he's like, is that the baby? I was like, yep, that's the baby. There's just so much happiness that I feel. So much happiness that I feel being pregnant and carrying my baby. And I cannot even begin to explain what this experience has meant to me. The back pain that I constantly have, the headaches that I constantly have, are all worth it. I'm tired all the time, and it's worth it. I would not trade a single detail of my pregnancy for the world. Not a single bit. My apprehension for the next 20 weeks is, now that I am 20 weeks pregnant, I am anticipating viability. I'm 4 weeks away from this being viable, and I just pray that I make it there. You know, that will be such a milestone to make it to viability. It was a milestone to make it to the second trimester, and then to make it halfway, and now my next milestone is 24 weeks. And I am just taking this bit by bit, and that is my next milestone, and I'm so excited to be so close to it. I am nervous the more and more I progress, though. I have fears of premature labor, of getting preeclampsia and having a labor experience that I didn't want. But in the end, it doesn't matter to me what happens as long as baby's born healthy. I'm nervous about the anatomy scan where we find out the gender. I'm not worried about what the gender is. I will be happy either way. I am so indifferent to the sex. I don't even care what the sex is. I will be so happy with a boy or a girl, and I don't want one more than the other. Yes, it would be fun to dress up a girl in little pink outfits with little bows, but to me, it's going to be my baby no matter what. It doesn't matter the sex. What I am nervous about is the results of the anatomy scan. I want them to be good. I want to know that my baby is fully healthy. If there is something wrong with my baby, I'm still going to love him or her. Mark and I did decline all genetic testing because to us it doesn't matter if there's something wrong. This is still our baby that we created out of love, and we're going to love it no matter what. So I am nervous about that, though, just the finding out and the waiting, and it's nerve-wracking, but it's exciting at the same time, because it'll be the first time that we know exactly where baby's measuring, approximately how much baby weighs right now, all of that stuff. We will be getting more ultrasounds than a normal person because I do have gestational diabetes. That has been going fine. Haven't changed my diet any, and my sugars have been perfect, so riddle me that. The only bad experience I've had with that is that my fingers do hurt from drawing my blood 4 times a day, but that is totally worth it, and I'll keep doing it because I know that it's important to keep my blood sugar in check for baby to be growing healthy and not growing too much, because if your blood sugar is higher, then baby ends up growing faster than it needs to be because baby's blood sugar is higher, and it's just not a good thing. So that's important to me. My experience with weight loss during pregnancy has been kind of bizarre. I've lost 20 pounds during the pregnancy, and I was up to 30 pounds lost, but I have gained some of it back. And that was to be expected because part of that weight was from nausea in the first trimester. But the rest of it has stayed off, and that's really exciting. Actually, just a little bit ago, Mark came home for lunch, and he had ran into his brother while he was working, and his brother just kind of looks at him and says, "How much weight has Megan lost?" And Mark's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I saw her and she should be gaining weight, not losing weight. She's pregnant." And Mark's like, "Well, she's lost like 20 pounds, and it was more than that, but it's at 20. And his brother was just like, "Well, you can definitely tell." And that was nice to hear. If you watch my vlogs, you know that my doctor is okay with me losing weight as long as baby is still growing. I'm not trying to lose weight. It just kind of happened on its own. So it's not like, oh, I'm watching what I eat. Like I said, I haven't changed my diet, so it's just kind of come off on its own. A thing I do worry about coming up is baby shower. We don't have a bunch of close friends here, just because Mark and I don't like fake people, and we don't like people that are going to talk about us behind our backs. So we're really picky with who we're friends with. My church is going to be throwing me a baby shower, but I'm not sure how much success they have with baby showers because I've never been to one at my church, because there's not, most of the women there are a lot older than me and already done having kids. and my sister-in-law is throwing me one, but we're gonna have like 15 people there max. So I am nervous about that. Mark and I have been prepared since the beginning to purchase everything that we needed for the baby. We had the budget set aside. We were completely expecting that. So just to get anything at a baby shower would be wonderful. But that is another thing where we're just like, okay, what else are we going to need to get? What should we hold off on getting? And it's just been confusing, and I'm probably stressing about it more than I should. But that's something that I have worried about. As far as the aspects of how I feel about becoming a mother, I'm just so excited to see my baby and hold him or her in my arms, and to think that I'm halfway to that point. It's gone by so quickly looking back on it, and I'm sure I'll think that the next 20 weeks go slow, but it's been so wonderful, and I sit there and picture what my baby's gonna look like, and how happy I'm gonna be, and how exhausted I'm gonna be, and how tired Mark's gonna be, and how stressed Mitchell's gonna be dealing with a new baby, and how my puppy's gonna act. And I'm just really excited about becoming a mom and being able to raise this person that God blessed my husband and I with. I would not trade a bit of my experience for the world. Being pregnant after infertility has been such a blessing. Women who didn't go through infertility that want a baby are still so grateful. I have seen that. My sister-in-law didn't go through infertility, and she loved her pregnancy. She loves her babies. But I think us who go through infertility have something special, something that you don't get without going through infertility, and that is a true understanding of what we have, of what the pregnancy means, of how precious it is. And yes, it may be precious to a fertile person, but we've grown stronger because of our struggle. We have an appreciation that you just aren't born with. Something that we've earned. Something that we've fought for. Something that makes everything worth it. So for all of the infertiles that are watching this, you will get pregnant someday. Miracles do happen, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And no one can ever take the feeling away from you. No one.